Hello YouTube, welcome to a different type of video here today. As you can see, there's a few different things happening on the screen. You might notice there's a little bit of difference with the quality of what we're working with today. That's because I am actually using my GoPro as the camera here. So let me know if you notice that there's a difference in the quality. I'm very excited to utilize my GoPro a little bit more than the webcam. You might see some streams moving forward with the GoPro once I figure out how I want to utilize them. You're going to see a little bit more of the shot. I obviously don't have the green screen up as well today because it's going to be a bit more of an informal chat or a bit more of a rant about some things that I've mentioned on the podcast, which it's not really exciting, but I just want to voice my opinion at this point. And it really does relate to the Port Adelaide Football Club at the moment. I mentioned on the podcast recently that I was expecting Port to be 0-4 after a month, and obviously that was more so focused around the game last night against Melbourne, which obviously Port have lost, and then the round one game against the Brisbane Lions. But I'm at a point where I'm really lost for words with the team. I'll get it out the way early. We're missing 7 players from the starting 18 last night in particular, and I thought for a quarter and a half we played some really good football, but unfortunately it just wasn't enough to get over the line against Melbourne, and their quality really did show through. The midfield quality is unbelievable. Jackson and McDonald and Gawn, and just they had tall timber everywhere, and we weren't able to deal with it. And it has been something that Port's struggled to do quite a lot in the past. And it's, there's been games where Danaher will kick bags of goals, or Tom Hawkins will kick bags, or Norton. So it's something that is just bottled up and bottled up and bottled up and bottled up for me, which has led me to today, really. It's led me to just turning the camera on and having a bit of a chat. So before I get right into it at the moment, make sure you, if you are new, welcome along. I'm going to start doing a little bit more AFL, Australian Rules Football content for YouTube, because it is a sport that I'm really passionate about, but I haven't had the opportunity to really create much content, or to be fair, I haven't really sought to make heaps of content about it, but it is a sport in general that I'm really passionate about. I do watch most games, most weekends, so I feel I've got something to say. I'm just going to throw it out there, to be honest. And if you guys agree, fantastic. If you don't, let me know in the comments, and we can have some discussion around those viewpoints. But I'll touch on Port before we go into any other topics of discussion. But for Port Adelaide, I'm really lost at a game style at the moment. It's just, I feel like we're plodding along. We're not really looking to do anything. It's just really sad to watch. You can see we're getting lots of the ball, but there's so many instances, and I wish I could put some clips over the top of what I'm talking about, but there's just so many times where we'll break away and the structure just falls apart, and there's just no one forward of the ball whatsoever. It's just, you can actually physically see the players are struggling because they're looking up and there's nothing to kick to. Then we go sideways, and then other teams then sort of transition their defense in behind to set up play behind the ball, which is really sad. It's honestly sad at a professional level that we haven't been able to find a way that's going to get us playing good football. So it just really does frustrate me, to be perfectly honest, but I'll try and have a bit more tangible evidence here. It's for me, it's pure coaching. There's just no way that this team can continue playing the way they are and expect to really change. Like, I know we're missing 90 goals from 3 players from last season. It's granted, but the game style then has to change. And the fact that we're playing the exact same way with players that aren't capable of doing those roles that those players have now left holes in, shows that there's a lack of intuition. There's just a stubbornness to the way that the team's coached. So you can't expect players like Georgiades and Marshall to do a job that Charlie Dixon does, because they're extremely different players. I'll use it into a soccer context. You can't have Mo Salah get injured and then expect an Adam Lallana to come into the team and do the exact same job. So a good coach will look at what they've got and try and mould a method that's going to suit the players that are in the team, and that's just what hasn't happened. So that's what's really frustrating for me. Obviously, going into Carlton next week, it's not looking great. We've got a big opportunity next week. We really need to try and find a way to get 1-4 and get the season going. But it's not going to surprise me if come West Coast in round 6 we're sitting 0-5, and whether Ken's still in a job, we'll have to wait and see. And what I'm more frustrated about now is that I'm literally just turned the camera on after the Geelong Brisbane Lions game, and for a game that was so competitive, it was free flowing. Geelong, very, very similar to Port Adelaide, missing lots of key players, but they just find ways to get the job done. The guys that come in, next man up, do the job that's required, play a little bit different. They bring in a tagger to try and deal with Lachie Neale. You know, that shows that Chris Scott is a lot more flexible, which Ken unfortunately hasn't shown. So for the neutral, I really enjoyed that game. What I'm going to do now as well is preview. Tom Hawkins actually kicked five goals in tonight's game as well. He did get gifted a couple by the umpires with some funny calling. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens with the hands in the back, because tonight they were quite lenient. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. But I'm just going to quickly check. I don't think there was any major fantasy scorers. Blitzarts 125, Smith 121, Hawkins 108, 5 goals 3. Could have been a very, very different game for Tom Hawkins if he kicked straight, because he did miss a few. Neale, even though he got the tag, had 30 touches, but didn't really have the impact that you expect from a player of his quality. What I'm going to go through now is a little bit of a preview around the next few games for this weekend, because there are a few games I'm very, very excited about. I am going to try and put one of these videos out once a week as a bit of a preview, and whether I might just do a review of the Port game and see what happens from there with some more substantial notes. I'm literally just doing a bit of a rant today. So if you're enjoying some footy content, let me know if you'd like to see this continue. But I'm excited to bring you guys some more AFL-themed content. So we've got Sydney and North Melbourne, which I'm just going to be back in Sydney in there pretty comfortably. I think North are looking a lot better than they have in the past, which is fantastic. But Sydney also looking really, really good. The Parker, Heaney combination, sort of switching midfield forward times, been really, really effective. And then also Will Hayward's always been good for a couple goals, which has been fantastic. Lloyd coming back into that team with Mills looks really, really good for Sydney. So I think they're just going to have a little bit too much firepower for the North Melbourne Kangaroos. We've then got Collingwood, West Coast, and again, West Coast starting to get some players back, but not to 100% yet. Collingwood looking okay. Really shocked me so far this year. I want to try and can I bring the table up here as well without losing this? Where Collingwood sitting? They're 2-1 from their 3 games, and I think, really young team looking, pretty decent at the moment. I'd like to back Collingwood, I think, in that one. Richmond and the Bulldogs, this is one where it could literally go either way, I think, but I think the Bulldogs really do need to get their season up and running. They're both 1-2. Richmond have looked good in parts, but looked really bad in other parts, especially last week against St Kilda, where they just died in the last quarter and just ran out of steam. And I think the Bulldogs are just going to have too much quality when you're talking about McRae, Dunkley, Bont, Tim English, the way he's playing. Norton's kicking goals, Waitman's kicking goals. Bulldogs looking really, really, really good. Fremantle, GWS. Another really interesting game over in Perth. It's that sort of weird time, isn't it, with daylight savings? It's, prime time, our time, but I really don't know who to back in this one. I think, Fremantle, what have they done so far? They're 2-1. GWS are 1-2. Fremantle obviously have played West Coast, so that was a bit of a freebie, and they beat the Crows by a point. So I don't really know if there's going to be a game that's going to be a draw this weekend. I think this could be the one, but I might take GWS in an upset because I think their quality is going to show through. Essendon and the Crows, the arch rivals to my beloved Port Adelaide. I just think there's too much. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the Crows. I think they were a bit unlucky against Fremantle to obviously go down by a point. And then I felt that against Collingwood, that they just lacked a bit of quality going forward. And with Big Texan coming back in, Sloan back in, I think they're getting some real good experience. Essendon, I really can't read at the moment. They're just up and down and look good against Melbourne in patches, but that's typical Essendon. So I'm going to take the Crows in a tight game there. Hawthorn, St Kilda. A lot of these remaining games are really, really tight to pick. Hawthorn, St Kilda, Gold Coast, Carlton. Carlton I'm going to take over Gold Coast, but that's not going to be a walk in the park. But then Hawthorn and St Kilda, I think Hawthorn are just that little bit more consistent at the moment. St Kilda playing really, really good in patches and really, really poorly in patches. So I'm going to go with the Hawks in that game there, 250 on Sunday. And that's going to wrap up our little preview here of round 4 with a little bit of a review so far of the Thursday and Friday night games. If you are enjoying or have enjoyed this video, please make sure you smash the thumbs up button, subscribe as well if you want to see more content like this where I'm just talking to the GoPro and ranting. Obviously, get your thoughts and opinions in the comment section as well, because that's where I'm going to be picking some discussion points throughout the week for the next video. Make sure you hit me up, Twitter, Facebook, all the good socials there, Paulie29. If you want to get in touch with the community, make sure you go to the PD Sports podcast as well if you want to see our weekly chat with Damo. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Hopefully those tips come through, and I might give you a little bit of a fantasy update as well once I've finished. Catch you later.